It's your boy J Lou, and you are just in time for something new. Alright, now in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is a review over the 3 brushes that are underrated in my personal opinion in 2024. Now, I was going to hold off on making this video just because of the simple fact that I don't think people appreciate what Brush King just really did, with this project. He didn't even give it a name, but I decided to call it the Anomaly Project. Now, the reason why I called it the Anomaly Project is because if you look up the definition of the word anomaly, it means something unexpected, something out of the blue, right? And that's what this project was. He's been dropping heat on his IG as well as his Facebook or any platform that you follow him on, where he's been dropping a new brush or an old brush every single day. And he's been introducing brushes that people have been just glazing over, so I wanted to make this video to highlight these 3 brushes that I've seen that he's dropped so far that, to me, in my personal opinion, are not only slept on, but they've been a game changer and kind of really sparked me to get back into the wave game, so with that being said, I don't want to hold y'all up. I'm gonna get straight into this product review and just go over all of the basics as well as all of the details that you need to know when it comes to using these brushes. Personally, I feel like Brush King dropped these brushes for me because whenever I decided to switch up my pattern and just go 360 beehive, these was the perfect brushes that he could have ever made for somebody that's just going 360s, right? Even if you don't have 360s and you have a swirl or whatever the case is, I'm gonna get into those details as well. Because if you are not new to my channel, then you already know I've had the previous patterns. The hardest pattern in the world, 720s. I've attempted a version of 540s. And I've always had 360s, so with that being said, I don't want to hold y'all up. Let's get into this product review and I'm going to break these brushes down in typical J Lou fashion. Alright, now before I decided to just get rid of my waves and just get locks and stuff like that, I probably made a decision that in hindsight, I'm like, I probably should have kept some of those brushes, you know what I'm saying? But I sold a lot of my brushes that I had because I was like, man, I'm done with waves. I ain't coming back, But your boy's finally back. And some of the brushes that I really wanted was the pointy versions of the palms that Brush King made with the royalty collection. Now, thankfully, he brought those brushes back, but he brought them under the hood of the Torino Pro collection, right? So the first brush that I copped out of the ones that he brought back was this brush right here, so this is the original pointed palm version of the brushes that I fell in love with. I had all versions of them. This is the soft version, so as you can see, this bad boy is great for laying your waves down. And I decided to not cop the medium or the medium hard version of this brush because I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So when Brush King is dropping something or he's bringing something back, he's never, like most people, they just do the same old thing. Brush King is always bringing something innovative and new, right? So I sat back and I was like, I want to see what brushes he's dropping that's gonna really pique my interest. And thankfully, he started dropping these brushes right here. Now, I don't remember all the numbers and the names and stuff like that. I'll make sure I have them linked down below in the description as well as the pinned comment of this video. But this brush right here, these models of the brushes is the ones that caught my eye, right? And at first glance, it seems as if they're the same type of brush, except one is longer and another one is shorter. But that's why I'm the professional at this, and I basically pioneered the brush review industry in the game, right? So with that being said, the first thing I want to point off is I don't have a medium version of this brush right here because I copped the mediums in this new format right here, right? So this brush right here is a medium, as well as this brush right here is a medium. This is the gray version and this is the sky blue version of it, so I basically have a softy, 2 different mediums, and then the medium hard that I just showed y'all that's in the purple. Now the biggest difference, besides the glaring obvious distinction of the body, is not only is the new versions a lot longer. But when it comes to the bristles, they're the same bristle length, right? So you don't have to really worry about, okay, are the bristle lengths different? As you all can see on camera, they're the same length, right? The biggest difference between these two brushes is how you use them. Now, when he first made these brushes, I thought this was a genius idea, because if you have 360s, if you have 540s, if you have 720s, hell, if you've made your own pattern up, this brush is ideal for brushing your crown, for no matter what type of crown you have, right? But when I saw this, instantly I noticed how much smaller and narrower the point is on the new versions of these brushes, right? So at first glance, you probably wouldn't notice that unless you had them both side by side. But when you have both of the brushes side by side, you can clearly see that the new versions of the brushes are a lot more narrow and pointier. Now, some people will say,
oh, that's no big deal. What's the point of me buying a brush that's more narrow,
But those are people who really don't care about having the best looking waves. For me personally, I never was one of the people that wanted to buy a toothbrush or use a toothbrush to brush into my crown or do those things that people do, because I feel like that was a waste of my time, right? Like, I don't have that much time, and the time I do have, I try to make it the best use of my time. So when he dropped these brushes, the first thing that popped into my head was, not only am I getting the benefit of using like a palm, because personally I love palms. I don't like brushes that have handles on them, because rarely, most people, even think about yourself, how many people actually use the handle on a brush? Most people don't do that, and it's mostly because most people don't know how to use the handle on the brush to brush their waves, right? But personally, I like palms. The main reason why is because I made a video in the past, I'll make sure I link it right above here, that goes over pressure distribution when you're using your brush, when you're brushing your waves. You get greater control whenever you are using a palm brush. So that's the reason why when I saw this brush, it was an instant cop. All three of them was an instant cop for me, right? I didn't get the soft version because I had this version. And personally, I don't really need soft brushes to pinpoint my pattern, but I was like, I already got the soft version. I don't really need a soft version in this. But when it comes to using the brush, not only is it a palm brush that you can grip and you can apply even pressure whether you want. Whenever I grip this brush, typically what I do is I hold it on the sides, and it has the indented grooves that you can see right here. It allows you to grip the brush a lot better, right? So that it doesn't slip. The smaller version of it has the same thing, but they're a little bit thinner, right? So another thing that you'll notice is the grooves on these new brushes are a lot wider. What I mean by that is you can see it on these versions, they're thinner in regards to the groove, you know. So if you have like fat fingers, your fingers may not fit on these brushes, so that means you can't really grip it the way you probably would want to. Thankfully, I don't have fat fingers, but for all y'all fat finger wavers out there, that's gonna be on y'all, right? But with this new design, it allows you to be able to grip the brush even if you have fatter fingers, right? So with that being said, that was something that I noticed that was easily distinguishable between both of these different models, right? Besides the narrow version of the palm, that's another major thing. Now, the thing I love about these brushes is when it comes to getting waves, in order to make progress, you don't have to brush as much if you are vertical brushing versus horizontal brushing. And what I mean by that is, if I was to take a brush and brush this way, that means that I'm only getting the bristles that go from here and is maintaining contact with my scalp. That's the only bristles that I'm using. Versus if I'm vertical brushing that same angle this way, I'm getting all of these bristles brushing my pattern. So every time I do a brush stroke, I'm getting more of the bristles brushing my pattern, which means that it's reinforcing the direction that I want my waves to go in. When I'm horizontal brushing, if we broke this down into the number of brush strokes that you do on your angles, then I would have to brush twice as much with the horizontal angle versus the vertical angle of my brushing, right? So the fact that not only are they palm versions of this brush, but the palm version extends and it gives you a lot more coverage, right? So let me see. I think I have a brush around here, and y'all gonna have to forgive me because some of these brushes dirty. I ain't washed me yet. You know, these are some of my old brushes that I kept. But when it comes to using the vertical portion of the brush, if I was to hold these brushes up side by side, as you can see, if I vertical brush with this brush, it still has it doesn't have as many bristles above it, which means that when I'm vertical brushing, I'm missing out on the fact that I can get a boost from using this brush if I vertical brush. What I mean by that is whenever I'm brushing my hair this way, by the time that brush ends, I still have bristles covering my scalp with this brush. So that's something that's small, but to me that's very important because it helps sped my progress up in regards to this pattern that I'm working on, right? The next thing is, like I said, with these kind of brushes, I don't really like using them because with the royalty line, they were a lot more spaced out. As you can see, with palm version of the brushes, the bristle distribution is a lot more closer or packed in, right? So that means that whenever I do brush, there's an even distribution of the bristles versus me having to worry about me not catching all of my wave pattern because there may be a little bit of spaces or gaps. With brushes like these, if you watch my previous reviews, it's better to horizontal brush with these brushes because you don't have to worry about the spacing that are made with the bristles. But with these brushes, I don't have to worry about what direction I'm brushing them in, and I can brush them in the direction that gives me the best coverage as well as help speed my progress up, right? Now, another thing is comparing it to the curved brushes that most people typically love, and I personally fell in love with. When you look at the curved versions of a brush compared to this brush, as you can clearly see, not only is this end pointier, but you get just way more bristles with this brush. And the design of it is just truly beneficial for wavers. This isn't a huge clunky brush that's in your hand, right? This is something that whenever you're brushing with it, people are not asking, hey, what the heck is that for? You know, they got some brushes out there I've seen on the market, and I'm just like, bro, if you like it, I love it. But at the end of the day, this is a brush that if you bring this out, people are gonna look at it and be like, yo, that not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but it looks like a wave brush, right? So with that being said, going back to the curved brushes, another thing is the reason why I'm not really using curved brushes like that, and these brushes are the brushes that I'm going to be using moving forward, is because as you can see, it's just the coverage that you get versus when you look at the sides, I don't have to worry about that curvature aspect. Now, that curvature aspect does benefit whenever you're trying to brush your sides and around your head, depending on how your head is shaped. However, like I've stated in many videos before, if you are not a pro and you do not know how to use a curved brush, you can overlap your angles and mess your pattern up. The very first video that I made that helped blew my channel up was this video right here. I'll make sure I link it above of how to properly use a curved brush. I may even bring that video back because there's a lot of stuff that people just need to understand, you know. So, but with that being said, those are the major differences between these brushes of the different models that you may see versus the ones that I could show you palms and other stuff like that, but I've already covered all the points that you need to know. When it comes to using these brushes, these are the angles that I'm using them when it comes to my pattern, right? So with that being said, let me just go ahead and show y'all. When it comes to my crown, I can get right into my crown and not have to worry about it overlapping and doing too much, disturbing my wave pattern, right? So with that being said, I don't like brushing on this kind of camera because I'm looking in a small view of it, but I want y'all just to visualize with me that if I'm brushing, I can tap into my crown and pull the wave specifically like that, as if I had a toothbrush, right? So I don't have to worry about switching out different brushes or doing all that kind of stuff for my crown. I can mainly use the upper portion of this brush in order to help me achieve that crown isolation that I want to, right? And like I've stated in the past, whenever I'm brushing my crown, I'm not brushing it by putting the brush flat against my scalp. I'm brushing it more at an angle so that therefore only these bristles and above are being used on my scalp, right? So you can probably see that in whenever I'm brushing my hair, instead of me having it flat, I angle it up a little bit so that I can focus on only using those bristles. And as you can see on video, it's pulling my hair, you know, so that's one of the benefits of these brushes. Like I said, I'm not going to focus too much because I can't really see that well on this small lens or basically screen. But when it comes to the sides, I can start outside of my crown area because you really want to separate your crown area versus the rest of your pattern, right? But I can start from the outside of my crown area, which is kind of like this line right here, and vertical brush that angle that I need. And because that brush is like all of these bristles are going in the same line with the vertical brush technique, I'm getting more coverage with lesser strokes. And that is basically one of the things that's helped me speed up my progress with this pattern. But more so importantly, it helped me get more motivated to get back into the wave game, you know. So with that being said, I'm not gonna go over all of my angles because I'm probably just gonna break that down into like a shorter video. But I just wanted to say, man, I appreciate y'all for taking the time out y'all day to watch this video. It's your boy J. Lou. If you do have any comments or questions, please drop them down in the comment section below. Let me know if you copped this brush or which brush did you cop from the new Brush King project, right? So with that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoy y'all day whenever y'all watch this. It's your boy J. Lou. Grace and peace. Salute.